Hi, I'm Dee, and this is Hershey, and we're going to brush this dog out for a groom. So we're going to start with the back leg, and we're not going to bear down because this can be a very aggressive brush. All the knots need to be removed from the hair coat so that the comb slides through easily, and I can feel when the coat has no mass. Where the dog moves in the joint area here in the leg, that's where most of the mats occur. Start with the lower leg. Make sure that these hairs down at the foot are brushed out and the comb goes right through it. I can feel the foot, the actual foot under the comb, and going right down to the skin. So again, we're brushing around the foot here. This is a tool called a mat splitter. And that mat splitter can get in there. This is sharp. It's not quite scissor sharp, but it's very sharp, and it will cut through the hair as you pull along. The tips are rounded, so you're not gouging into the skin. You have extra oil glands under the ears, which oftentimes makes the hair mat a little more behind the ears and under the ears. The leather of his ear is about here at the end, and you can see he's got almost a full inch of hair after the ear. But again, be careful with the ears because along the leathers can start to bleed if you're applying too much pressure. Now we've got about half of them done. And what we do is take the comb, and it's a double-edged comb, and check ourselves once again with the comb. So we're nibbling away again. So he's fairly well brushed. Now we're going to do the pads of the feet and get, I'd say, a good 90% of the hair. Now, on the underside, you can see how the pad is, and you can comb the hair, the existing hair, around the pad this way, and you can see these areas that need to be trimmed back. You don't want hair, especially, to touch the ground, but for a pet being groomed, and Hershey is a pet, we're going to clean up some of this hair. There, okay. We're going to do this on all 4 feet. And I'm going to start, the occiput is located right here, and you'll feel on every single dog, part of its anatomy is there's a lump back here, unless the dog's awfully fat and you can't feel it. There's a little lump, and it's a bone right in the back of his head, and that's where I'm choosing to start my pattern. Now this is an open ear. You can see the ear hair is somewhat messy, and it's very waxy. There's wax coming from his inner ear that's natural. His ears are not dirty, but this area needs to be cleaned up and gotten as clean as possible so that he doesn't have any ear infections, and he doesn't now, and you don't want them to happen. Yes, very quickly. And you want to make sure you don't catch the leather with your clipper head. So you just go over it with your fingers, find out where all the anatomy is, and I'm coming down to blend to the leg. I'm pulling the skin forward to make it taut, and it's revealing a little more of the nature of the hair. His coat is quite curly, as you can see. And each time I go over him, because of the curls in his coat, the waves in his coat, I'll be getting just a little bit more. I want to get the tail fairly clean, because as we know, the tail is where we collect a lot of stuff. I'm going to be very careful and gingerly take some of this hair around the anal area, because this is where it always gets stuck when I go to the bathroom. And I don't want to scrub, and I don't want to make them bald here. And I want to take the underside and get this somewhat close. And I'm going different directions to get all of this hair, because he does have a curly coat. Wavy, I should say. It isn't really curly, it's wavy. Contour around his eyes, and this takes several brushings in order to get some kind of a believable and continual appearance. Keep brushing. You'll notice things sticking out every time you brush, and you want to continue redoing the same area until you're absolutely happy with the outcome of it. In other words, I like it where they can see, and as I say, we can do this in a lot of different ways. There is no hard, fast rule as to how a dog is done, unless you're at the show. Now, you see, we've got a little bit of an expression going here. We've got to clear away some of this hair by the eye here. You could do a lot of this with the clippers. If you had a long enough blade or even an attachment, you could probably be pretty successful at getting a uniform height or length of hair up here. I like to sculpt and do things with the scissors, redefining the area of the break of the ear, and you can set your scissor right on it. You can feel it right there. That's where the ear starts and the head leaves off. But right now we're going to make this a one-piece head. And recombing, combing, recombing, because all this is really important. And I want to round up the area over the ear and around the top of the head. Able to get some of this hair off, some of the bulk, and have a nice looking top knot. We have a longer muzzle, and we have there we go. And the trick is comb, comb, recomb, and scissor until you have what you feel is a well-rounded appearance. And all of this is going to change after the bath. Every dog is different. He has this little lop of hair on the front that wants to go forward. It's actually longer than the back of his head, but you want to be careful about being too strict about lengths, because everything is contoured to the individual head, and they're all different, which is wonderful. So now I'm going to work on the muzzle a little bit. I'm using my wider side comb. Now I'm going to use the shorter side comb of the comb to define just what exactly we're going to be after here. Excuse me, Hershey. So I have my fingers holding his little chinny chin chin, and I'm going to get rid of some of this bulk here because these dark hairs, you can see right there, I want those gone. The ear leather is right here, and I'm going to go a little bit shorter. They're kind of, and pancake them a little bit. There. Let's get rid of some of this also, which I did with the clippers on the other side. I'm going to thin this mess out here, because you want the ears to be clean. I usually do this with a clipper. You can do it either way. And recombing, combing, recombing, because all this is really important. And I want to round up the area over the ear and around the top of the head. So I'm going to take the thinning shears. So I'm rounding off some of this and softening the line with the thinning shears so that it has a less chopped look, if you will. It blends better to use the thinning shears. When I learned grooming, I was told I could only use the thinning shears to do my entire groom. It took forever. I think the first full groom I had to break 3 or 4 times, and it took about 4 hours or so, and all I was allowed to do was use the thinning shears. If you are concerned about how your dog is going to look, use the thinning shears. Down to what they call the break, which is the widest part of the rib right here. And the widest part of the rib usually denotes that if you're going to have a skirt, which is this part of the longer hair draping down this way, you would stop at the break, and you would either use the thinning shears or blend this with your clipper head, using a longer clipper head than up here, and then you would have a nice demarcation between what is longer and what is shorter. You are ready. So this is after the bath. The hair has been nicely fluffed out because everything's going to change a little bit after the bath. So here we are, but still you'll find little projections of hair that you don't want standing out so that you can get them off. These are curved shears. Be careful, the nails have been trimmed, so we're able to lop off pretty much of all the extraneous hair. Okay, so now the feet have been trimmed. We want to go about 1/2 inch below that occiput and start your groom just behind it. going to do what I call, and what I've been taught, is a reverse trim with a 4F again, but it's going to leave the coat much finer, a little shorter, and the pattern, his color pattern, will stand out even more. So it's a good length for this dog. And again, I'm not taking too much at a time. You want balance on both sides, so be vigilant when you're looking at the dog that you're trimming with equal parts on both sides. In other words, if you're trimming down on one side, you need to figure out where that is. There's a muscle here in the leg, right above the elbow. The elbow's here, and you can slide your finger down and feel that muscle. I like to expose, if you will, that muscle here, and then use that as a pattern for the break. The break is actually the widest part of the dog on the rib cage right here. So anything below that would be considered available. If you wanted a shorter skirt, you could use numerous different ways of shortening the skirt, but it's up to you as to how you would like this dog to look when it's done. I'm using the clippers. You'll find with my grooming I use the clippers a great deal. And that is predominantly with pets to cut time. And decide if I want to come down any further. Again, I'm going right below that. Just where that muscle breaks, actually, for the elbow. So I'm trimming that away with my clippers instead of using a half hour with the scissors. Now, and I'm just following the same pattern, going in short strokes again. You don't want to do too much repetition on the same place unless you're changing the length. I'm pulling the skin back a little bit to make it more taut, and that helps get all of the smaller hairs and the unruly hairs, if you will, into your clipper blade. It certainly allows the hair to become more uniform in length. All of the F-series blades can be used in reverse like this to give you a variation on the length that each blade will leave. Done this, I'm going to clean my table, and I'm going to brush all of this up and do it once more. To start on the legs. I'm going to start with this back leg, again making sure that it's thoroughly combed out and ready for my finish work. A nice set of thinning shears, I think they're 48s, and then straight edge, a small straight edge and a large straight edge. Thinning shears, these are a little heavier curve shear. And I'm going to scissor these legs. Now, keeping in mind the length right from the beginning that you want to leave. You're not running into problems because you've already gotten this pretty well brushed out. It looks good. So now we're going to pick up the foot and we're going to shake it out, and we're going to pull the hairs away from the skin, being careful not to, be sensitive to the dog. He's tired of being brushed and so on. They probably experience more brushing at the time of grooming than ever in their lives. And to start with, I'm going to take these large curve shears, and I'm going to take off the majority of the hair that I would like to take off. And I'm going to use them to contour, excuse me, Hershey, the amount of hair that basically I want left to work with on each area. And what you want to do is draw two parallel lines, imaginary parallel lines on either side of the leg. Draw two parallel lines, one here and one here. And you want to follow those imaginary lines to the best of your ability. You clean up the areas, but then take off the hair that isn't necessarily part of your game plan for the appearance that you want to give him. So you're going to accomplish this by simply scissoring down and rebrushing each time, because hairs will pop out, so that you have that configuration which you think is going to look the best. These are happening. And you can go in there and straighten it out. These are curved shears, but they're very nice for getting some of that other hair out that you see on this side. And of course the view will change. So now I'm scooting his leg just a little bit over, and I'm going to accomplish the other side of the leg, pulling his coat out this way, and again with the long curved shears, because I want a rounded appearance on my finish work. So we've basically attempted a straight line on this side and a straight line on that side. And of course there are variations a little bit because he hasn't been groomed in a while. Each time you groom a dog into the same pattern, the pattern will become more exact. Okay, so we're going to look at the skirt And we're going to pull up to expose any long hairs that might be ones we don't want in our pattern. And I'm just going to take off the length that I think I would like this. And try not to make too many holes. But these are fixable with these magical things. So anytime you think you've made a mistake or you've gone too short in a certain area, you take your thinning shears and you thin that area. And it blends, it causes the hair to really blend in nicely, and you're forgiven. And isn't that wonderful? But that's the job of the thinning shears to a point. The other job is to relieve certain areas of the thickness of the hair coat. I like to do what they call a posted leg, which basically is the two lines, again, the two straight lines on either side of the leg. And I like that look. It's a neat look. Also, and a curve shear again is really handy for all this work. And what I'm trying to accomplish here is a gentle blending, which is so nice. Oftentimes you can accomplish something very similar on the skirt with an attachment. I'm not using an attachment today because I want everyone to be able to, over time, accumulate the kind of tools that you need to do a job more quickly. Today I'm trying to just reach the principles of contouring and blending and pattern. This doll could be done in any pattern. You could have a closed face, you could have short ears, you could have shaven ears with bells on the bottom. He could wear anything as labradoodles and golden doodles, depending on what they got from their parents. As far as coat textures, you could basically do any trim. So now we have a nearly completed little Hershey. And this trim could be used on golden doodles. I've seen a lot of golden doodles with similar trims, and very cute. It's contingent on whatever the owner wants. You can, and everything grows, so you don't have to worry if you don't like the ears close. They will grow. Everything changes. So your artwork will over time, it can be changed to include different sculptured effects on your dog. I'm just gonna okay, so what do you think?